you will do this and that. So it was very outward, you know, and there was like not a very strong sense of what Bangladesh actually was going to really position for, other than, you know, the push being given on, let's say, adaptation finance, following that, which is super important, and then the emerging topic of loss and damage. And now I think we have gone really far. I think that the fact that, you know, media has decided to partner with the academe and experts of these UN processes, I think it is, as Sohana said, there is a growing trust issue and a trust recognition that we need to work together, coming from different expertise and specialization, because the climate issue is a complex issue. I keep saying it like a broken record. It is an environmental issue, a social issue, an economic issue. This one, you know, very popular, very important. It's an economic issue, but for many of us, it's also a justice issue, right? And I feel that this is the purpose of, you know, trying to cover this fairly, accurately, backed by science, you know, out of this, you know, the usual way of media covering, you know, climate change as if it were like a doom scenario for the rest of the world. Because now we recognize that by covering climate as a sort of like a scary phenomena, you know, it actually produces inaction, right? And we want the exact opposite of that. The reason why we are writing about climate change is we want the right action from our governments, from our communities who are the ones trying to do the adapting, the surviving from all these climate impacts. We want action as well from the youth, because they are the ones going to face this in the future. But we also, and one of the things that probably hasn't been discussed, how do we convince our private sector to actually act, you know? Because they are the big emitters, they are also the big source of future investments for our adaptation, and also for loss and damage, right? So when we formulate our stories, when we write our stories, we have to understand who is it that we are trying to influence and why we are writing these stories, right? So I come from a partner government to Bangladesh. As the Swedish government, you know, we are here as a development partner, but we are also represented in COP as a negotiator, right? Sometimes we will take a position that is not what Bangladesh and other LDCs would like to take. But that is the nature of all these UN processes, right? And it's very easy to get caught in this UNization of COP. You know, many of us will get excited by the arguments over, you know, the terminology and, you know, things like that. Because I work for the UN as well. I work at the headquarters of UN Habitat and UNEP. And so I remember, you know, we would argue over phrases. We would argue over, you know, should, would, will. You know, it's like you spend hours just arguing over one word. And countries will go back to their own, you know, positions, and then they'll start arguing among themselves before they agree on something, and then you end up with probably a document that is not serving, let's say, the situation of those who are actually suffering from climate impacts the most, right? So these are the things that we have to remember, that at the end of the day, it is what we have at home that should matter, and how the information from COP, the outcome of COP, will be for the people back home, you know, so that they have the right basis for actually moving forward with climate action. So I'm appreciative of the fact that Sohan, our partner here, the young people have been super proactive. Without them, we would not have had this climate communicators network that is bringing together, you know, all this clear understanding that the media is our strong partner when we work with climate change. We really need the media. All of us, we really have to educate ourselves together, you know, so we are using we may not be using the same terminologies, but at least we understand where we are, what we are trying to work together on, right? And so I hope and I look forward to the follow-up from this. I hope those who will go to COP will not be exhausted after all the UN-ish processes out there. But then you come home, you feel inspired, enlightened on what has to be done. We have so many documentations, strategies, policies of the government that we need to work on as well back home. I will be one of those staying here. I won't go to COP. I will be staying back home and trying to understand what the COP processes will do to improve the conditions for, let's say, implementing the NAP that we have here in Bangladesh, the Mujib plan, implementing or following up on the NDCs, the commitments that the government has made in the NDCs. I'm part of the Steam Europe initiative where we are trying to push for renewable energy investments here in Bangladesh. And so my hope is that the outcome of the COP will facilitate things for us here in Bangladesh. And so, yeah, it's so exciting. I will look forward to seeing you all after COP and maybe sharing experiences. And I hope no one feels hopeless after COP, but everyone feels inspired and very clear about their role and their contribution in this climate agenda. So thank you so much.